And we're live.
Yep.
Hi guys, good morning. 7:08, our typical 8 minutes late. Very sorry about that. Just so you know, we're working on it. Good thing there's only 4 people listening. I think one of those is me because
I think one might be me.
So there's 2 people watching, and Ryan probably has it open. So there's 1 person watching, and then Matt Souza probably has it open. Wow, Ryan, your home screen is pink.
That is.
Yeah, my girlfriend, I was gone on vacation and she changed my home screen. Welcome home, whatever it says. So
she knows how to do that stuff?
Yeah.
Tom, hi. I have some bad news for you, Tom. Hi, Katie. I have some bad news for you, too. We're supposed to be interviewing Robert Guerrero right now at 7 a.m. I do not know what happened. We were texting with him, and we were good to go. He fights on Saturday against Victor Ortiz on the Manny Pacquiao card. I don't know if I would call Robert a friend, but I have his phone number. I've hung out with him a few times. I want to call him a friend. I really enjoy his company. He's cool as shit. He's nice. He's humble. I think I've even played a little bit of basketball with him once before, and I hurt my shoulder in that game. And he's 38 years old. It's kind of a comeback fight for him. He was retired, but yeah, you see where this is going, Tom? I see your tear. Don't worry. There's only, it says 10 watching now, but it's minus the 4 of us who work on the podcast, so it's only 6 of you.
Recording in progress.
Oh, Zoom just told me recording in progress. Thank you.
Oh.
So I don't know what happened. He is in Vegas. He is at his training camp. I thought it was he jumped on the interview. When we contacted him, he responded within I want to say 30 seconds and said he'd do it. I'm pretty sure Vegas is are they on the same time zone? Does anyone know that? Is California?
I think so.
Brian's smart, and he one of my very first CrossFit workouts. Can't wait to meet the man. Wayne, thanks, brother. I for some reason don't think he's gonna make it on the podcast. I don't know what's going on. Are you on that group thread? Are you guys on that group thread with Robert?
Yeah.
Am I reading that right? It was I think 7 a.m. Monday is great. We will get back to you tomorrow. I said good to go for tomorrow. I'm in training camp right now, and all I have access to is my smartphone, which is an Android. I will be able to use that. And Ryan, do you think the Zoom link we gave him works on an Android? I don't know if I feel more bad for the listeners or myself because I've already started on my second cup of coffee, which is what I do.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Going hard today.
That's what I do for the podcast. Is there anything else, Brian, that you would want to talk about? Man, damn Robert. Robert the Ghost Guerrero ghosted us.
I mean, I could address a couple of things that people have asked me about after last night's show if you want.
All right.
While Brian's doing that, Sevan, would you want to call him? Would that be too much? Would that be thirsty?
No, you mean actually just use his phone number?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that. Let me do it right now. Let's see what happens if I call him. I'll put him on speakerphone. Let's see. This is what happens when you call a 4-time world champion. Usually we only text. This is the first time I've ever called him. You know, his son's getting into boxing.
408.
All right, Brian, show's yours.
Hey, it's not bad. That's 118 shows, and it's the first guest that we've had a complete no show. Is that correct?
No, I think Andre Kurzian in Michigan. Remember, he didn't show one
Oh,
time. We
that's
ended up
right.
doing an impromptu show, and
That's
then we had
right.
him on later in the same week.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So we got ghosted by an Armenian and a Mexican. That's how racism starts and prejudice starts. You start looking for patterns like that. You start getting ghosted by a handful of Armenians, and you're like, those unreliable sons of. We want to see someone's broadcasting his heart rate live during a podcast, like at game. Oh God. You don't even know how stressed out I am right before. That would be actually interesting. I do have a heart rate
We
monitor.
could do
Someone
that,
sent me.
Sevan. We could do that. If you got a Whoop and you gave me your login information, I could stream that to the public while we're doing
Oh,
this.
a Whoopie.
Yeah.
I have another heart rate monitor. I have this other one that's pretty damn cool. It's like I have like 6 of them. Some guy sent them to me. I wish I could remember the name of it. And basically it pops up on an iPad, and so like I can put the heart rate monitors on all my kids, and you can put them anywhere on the kid, on their leg, arm, shit, their neck, and I can watch their heart rates on my TV. Maybe I'll charge those up and see. That would be funny, right?
That'd be really funny. I would enjoy that.
This is gonna end up being a commercial for Good Dudes Coffee. By the way, someone asked me the other day, is Good Dudes Coffee good? It's not only good, it's strong. I've said this before. There's a trendy place in town called Verve, and I get my coffee there when I run out of Good Dudes, which is very rare. And it takes like at least 2 cups of Verve to equal 1 cup Good Dudes. So if you don't like strong coffee, maybe Good Dudes isn't for you. Okay, sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
Well, no, it's just a few people, a lot of people I think watched last night or have watched maybe since then about the top 10 under 25 men and women, and it's got some kind of consistent responses back. One of which is just from people who, think I forgot someone on the list. And of course, we've talked about this before, is there, and I think I even said it before we started the show, is there's a ton of people attempting to be good at CrossFit. But if you haven't actually shown up to competitions and done anything that's worth talking about yet, you might be great, but you haven't put yourself in the scenario to get that recognition that the people on those lists get. So I appreciate that you guys reach out to me, and some people who are striving to be great in the sport. But I'll make a note of them. But I'm going to be waiting to see them show up to a competition and do something, and not just maybe even once, but do something repeatedly to show that they're of the caliber of these athletes that have earned spots on this list through their performances in competition.
Were any of those from Yandy? Yandy's 31 and he wants to be on the list.
No, Yandy sent me something. He was pushing back a little bit about the 20-year-olds overtaking the 30-year-olds. Just overall at the top of the game's hierarchy in the next couple of years. He doesn't necessarily think that's the case. He thinks that until there's more money in the space, that there won't be the desire to attract the really, really high potential young athletes. But I disagree. I think even if that's the case, where we're maybe not getting the best athletes in the world because they're still participating in other sports. And by the way, I think it's good that there's a diversity of sports and that athletes have the opportunity to participate in a variety of them. That we see that there's a super strong young contingency of athletes, both men and women, coming up in this space. And I just think that at some point when you're 24 to 27 years old, you're going to, and you already have 10 years of experience of watching, learning, reading, doing this sport, that you're going to have a genetic advantage over the 30 to 34-year-old, the same for age range, but just 5 years later.
Genetic or practical?
Biological. I don't know what, maybe genetic's not the right word, but just like at that time in your life.
What does this comment mean? This AntFit guy is pretty, he makes a lot of comments and he's pretty aggressive, but he says, well done, Brian, on finding the jack plug socket. Oh, meaning that your audio is better. Well done, Brian, on finding the jack plug socket. That's a comment on YouTube. There's a guy in the other comments, Ox Lotus. It says, Sevan, Brian, the moderators on the CrossFit subreddit has been censoring posts promoting your podcast. The Sevan Podcast now has a subreddit moderated by myself and Merc Soul. What's interesting about that is, Oxlotus, I'm so sorry that you have to even go to Reddit. It is a despicable place. Someone sent me there a few years ago. It's clear and obvious that the New York Times does their research over there. It is a horrible place. It's more vile than the most vile porn sites. I mean, it is really a nasty, gross place. Anytime you're on Reddit, you should put on a hazmat suit. You should realize that it's doing something horrible to your brain. Don't ever feel like you have to defend. Though, what'd you say?
The Sevan Podcast community will be dope as fuck. We won't have those vile people there.
Okay, good. I just feel like someone's like, oh, are you sure there's really good stuff at on Reddit? And I'm just like, hey, like Disneyland's cool, but if they had like a section with like glory holes, like I wouldn't take my kids there. Like if they had like, oh, this is the part for adults, so there's glory holes. I mean, it's so fucking mean and vicious and nasty. And trust me, I love nasty, but and I'm not a Puritan in the slightest, but man, is it a vile place.
But when you're at Disneyland, you take your kids to, the Jungle Cruise, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been there with my kids, but
yeah, the Jungle Cruise is the Sevan Podcast subreddit. That's the ride, baby. That's the one that everyone wants to go to. It'll be the number one subscribed subreddit soon.
Okay, good. Well, that's good. I think. I feel bad. I wish there was another website you could go to that wouldn't be Reddit. And the guy who's found it's a complete woke douche, although he is Armenian.
Well, those guys reached out to me and asked if there were our accounts that were claiming to be us, I guess, on there, and I told him they weren't, and he said he'll take care of it. So,
I guess
whatever's happening, I appreciate it if he's looking out for that.
Oxlotus said, well, there's 250,000 subscribers to the CrossFit subreddit, and the moderators remove Sevan content and upvote HQ stuff, of course. Although, yeah, of course they do. You don't want to get me started on Consensus Fit. Hey, they should kick off the whole entire CrossFit Reddit thread. There is no such thing as CrossFit anymore. CrossFit was Greg Glassman's experiment, and the head scientist is gone, and there is no CrossFit. I said it. So I guess Robert Guerrero is not coming on. I can't tell if I'm angry or disappointed. Maybe I should always have something like a backup show, like ready to go, or some sort of rant.
Oh, I thought that's what you kept me here for.
You're so great, Brian.
Always the backup.
You're so great. I want to tell you something. Last night, my wife said, hey, that wasn't nice that you referred to Brian as unattractive. I go, when did I do that? He goes, yesterday. And I said, no, I just meant we're not as attractive as Danielle, Brandon, and Chase and Dave. And she wouldn't let it go. She kept just hammering me. So I want to tell you something. I'm sorry if I referred to you as unattractive.
I didn't even notice that.
Oh, good. That's what I told her. I said, and shoot, some people stood up for him in the comments. No one stood up for me. I was like, she said, you said you guys were ugly as fuck. I go, yeah, no one said anything like, no, Sevan's not. They just said, no, Brian's not ugly. So
that actually was kind of hilarious. They're like, James is better looking than both of them. And someone's like, Brian's not bad either. And you're like, hey, guys.
Little something.
I guess I did see that part. Hey, this guy sent me this quote. It's from a guy who placed 3rd place at the Olympics, I think. And he said, if you can't win in an imperfect circumstance, you are not good enough to win it. If everything has to be perfect, then you have to get better. He said it reminded him of Colton Merton's attitude and perspective towards, I guess, for what you just generalize as excuse making that people have about certain events or performances.
Who said that? Who said that? Do you see who said that? That's a great line.
I think his name was Kyle Dake. I'm not sure what the event was, but he took 3rd place, some kind of something you have to cut weight for at the Olympics. And this person, TJ, on Instagram.
Oh, it was yeah. I did see that quote. It's actually Kyle Drake, and he was he's an Olympian. I want to say he's in I forget what weight class he is. He's a wrestler. He's amazing. For the first time ever, he just knocked out the guy. I wish I could remember the other guy's name. The guy who's been to the Olympics for the United States. I want to say like 3 times in a row. And he went to the Olympics and he took third. And instead of having excuses, he said, hey, if everything's, he said that line that you said. Yeah, that's a fabulous line. We got to get that guy on the podcast. That is a tough dude. Julian Ford, what do you think of the CrossFit podcast? It's definitely not good as this podcast. I listened to the first 40 minutes. I wouldn't say it's not as good. I mean, it's just really, really game centric. The really good thing about that podcast, the reason why to listen to it, I think, is if you want to hear stuff from Dave Castro himself. I personally like Chase. I thought Danielle was better on that podcast than she was on our podcast. I think she's getting better with practice. I'm sure we'll invite her to come back on this podcast. She would be great to have on, like we did last night with, it is Kyle Dake. It's not Drake. Okay. Oh. My bad. It would be great to have Danielle on, like we had Colton on, just like 15 to 25 minutes to start the show, to get some of her followers. I mean, to get some of her input. And at the beginning of our shows, I'd like to start doing that more and more. Sevan, you might want to reach out to Marcus Almeida Buchecha for a podcast. He's a multiple times BJJ heavyweight champion, making his transition to MMA. Okay, I'm on it. I'm gonna check. Is he on? I assume he's on Instagram.
I'm looking him up right now for you.
Okay, thanks.
I'll send him to you.
So there was this girl. I think I told you guys this yesterday. There was this girl at my son went to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu tournament. If you want to see his match, I put it on I think 3 Playing Brothers on Instagram. And anyway, and I was watching, other people go, and the girls were significantly better than the boys. Anyway, there was this girl there, and she was in the gray belt category, 50 to 59 pounds. And she looked so small. And she was destroying people. So as her and her coach were walking off the playing field, I guess, the mats, I yelled at her coach. I said, "Hey!" And he walked over to me and he said, "What?" And I want to say he had a Brazilian or some foreign accent. And I said, "What's up with your girl? She looks too small for this weight class." He said, "Yeah, she's wrestling, competing 2 weight classes up." So meaning she was a 30 to 39 pound girl, gray belt, competing with the 50 to 59 pounds. And I said, what's the deal? How is she so good? And he said, Google me. And he told me his name. And I want to say his name was Carlos Roca. Anyway, I Googled him, and he was her coach. And he's a 4-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, 10-time European champion, Bellator fighter, and MMA fighter. At that point, I realized, holy shit, these tournaments are the real deal. And Avi went 0-2. He warred. I'm super proud of him. In the first match, it went all 3 minutes. He attempted an arm bar, didn't get it deep enough, and he ankle picked the kid a couple times, or at least once, but he didn't win. But man, and it was in Stockton, home of Nate and Nick Diaz. He beat Jordan Burroughs to make the Olympic team. Okay, so Kyle Dake beat Jordan Burroughs to make the Olympic team. Thanks, double sevens. You're double sevens, but then you have 3 sevens. Excuse me. So yesterday, Avi learned how to burp on command. Do you remember learning how to burp on command as a kid?
I think so.
Yeah, that was huge for me. That was like a breakthrough. That was like even more. I don't remember learning how to add or subtract or multiply or divide, but I do remember learning how to burp. I think I burped nonstop for like a month.
2 athletes that were on the top 10 list last night reached out to me on Instagram.
Okay.
Lucas Grulev from Denmark. So thank you for tuning in, Lucas. And then Luke de Jong from Australia. And he posted on his stories like several clips of when we were talking about him. And he actually brought up something that we forgot to mention last night as well. When we were talking about how difficult it is to qualify out of the Oceanic region for the men. And Ricky Garrard will be back in the mix there this year, only making that process presumably more difficult.
Oh, good point. And just so you guys know, we are in contact with Ricky Garrard, and I think he committed to coming on in October. And I want to say we'll probably be the first person to get him. But I also said we'd have Sarah Sigmund's daughter last week. So take that with a grain of salt. What was that guy's name? That Dion guy? I want to have him on the podcast.
Luke DeYoung. Yeah, I think he might be a very fun guy to talk to. And actually a friend of his reached out and said that Luke would be happy to come on if we wanted to talk to him.
Can you spell his last name for me?
Yeah, Luke's last name is DE space JONGE. JONGE. It's Luke, and his Instagram is his name with underscores between it. And his friend is named Kobe, and he said if you have him on, he'd love to do it.
Yeah, he looks like a supermodel. CrossFit Games 2017 medal winner. Was that in the kids division?
Probably.
How could that dude ever have been in the kids division? God, his arms are huge. All right. Oh, yeah. You can tell. And there's pictures of him. It doesn't look like he's cut his hair since 2017.
I don't know what he means by medal winner. He placed 15th at the 27 games for 16 and 17-year-olds.
You mean 2017?
2017, yeah. He was 15th place.
And he uses a frog.
What?
As bullet points. And it looks like he's got a lot of sponsors. He's got the look, man. He could get a lot of sponsors. He's got the look. Sevan, you might want to reach out. He beat Jordan. Have Buchecha would be dope as fuck. We'll try. I love it when you guys, you know what makes me think that the podcast might be better than okay is when you guys make suggestions for people that we have no chance of getting on. Like someone's like, hey, get Kanye on. I'm like, okay, sure. No problem.
Another message that caught my interest following last night's show was about Haley Adams. This is a guy who actually, I think, pays attention to a lot of the stuff we put out and also just CrossFit space in general. And he's insisting that she's being overrated by all American analysts. And I've gone back and forth with him a couple of times. I just, I don't know how to say it any other way than she's beaten everyone else on that list 3 consecutive years at the games, other than Laura Horvath, who I rated ahead of her. And, ranking her third coming into the weekend, like before that ranking, it wasn't unprecedented that she could finish third. And even going into the last day of competition, she was, within a couple dozen points of the podium spot. Obviously she didn't make it this year, but it seems like it's really like nitpicking things if you consider that to be overrating her. I think she's pretty much earned the distinction as a top 5 woman in the sport right now. And she's only 20.
I think that she is actually the opposite. I think she's underrated. We interviewed Andrea Nisler, who is no joke, and she made it very clear how good Haley Adams is. Then we saw her last 2 years ago at the games, basically, injured, do her best to hang with Tia Claire Toomey. She did marvelous this year in a big field. She's super young, and let's not forget, she trains with Rich Froning, and Rich Froning said in the live chat at the games on our show, Haley Adams is going to place on the podium. And I don't think Rich is the type of guy who has proximity bias. I think he is, I think he knows. I think he knows just like Fraser knew that Justin Medeiros. I mean, I think Rich sees something in her. I think he would say, I don't think he can help but be honest. Keep up the podcast, gentlemen. Sevan, you're the truth in CrossFit. Get back out doing more movies behind the scenes style. They will not let me. Guys, listen, there's 2 things. So One, Brian, thank you for carrying the show. We are not threatened by any other podcasts out there. We're excited by all the other podcasts out there. I wish everyone would put out more content because we're not afraid to mention the other podcasts. And I actually like talking about them. I keep going to Arm & Hammer's site, hoping that like he'll put something out that we can talk about. I enjoyed watching a little bit of the CrossFit podcast yesterday, so it gives us something to talk about. But I can never go back there because what you like about me is something that they would never allow there. I have to assume that they are not stupid and that someone did say, or that there was a suggestion that I would do the CrossFit Games podcast, but they know they cannot have me be a part of something that's a corporate woke consensus fit type of program. They're just, like they can't say Danielle Brandon's hot. They can't, there's a ton of things they just can't do because they're scared, because they're trying to appeal to everyone. We are not trying to appeal to everyone. We just found this medium as a place to just do our thing. Brian clearly loves what he's doing. Ryan loves what he's doing. Souza loves what he's doing, and I love what I'm doing. And if you put us in underneath something like that, everything that you guys liked about us would be stifled. So, I just thinking of another example, like during the behind the scenes, there was a guy doing body work on Brooke Wells, and he was rubbing her body down, and I asked him, "Are you married?" Like I just, they're not going to let that shit fly. They're, if there were 3 people out there and anyway, I don't want to like, I'm trying to say it nicely, but I can't because I do have a little bit of an axe to grind, but it's just, it would never ever work as long as they're trying to be woke, as long as they have stuff like a DEI council and they're just totally lost. It just won't work. And Brian, thank you for carrying this show. Yes, that's it. Yandy said they're simply afraid of being canceled. Yes. And so I've already been canceled, and so this is just awesome. This meeting has been upgraded by the host and now includes unlimited minutes. Oh, thank you, Ryan.
We can maybe do as Nick of Time asked, and just stay here all day, keeping him company while he's working.
Were you going to say something, Brian, before I read this next comment?
No, sometimes people do send me stuff on Instagram also saying that either you should petition on my behalf or I should be more aggressive about reaching out to CrossFit to be more involved with them. And I think I'm somewhat with you, maybe for different reasons. Is CrossFit has access to the best statistician in CrossFit, the guy with the most detailed, in-depth, historically relevant stuff, and they can get that from him anytime they want. And
who's that?
Chad Schrader.
Oh yeah. He's good.
And he's the best. He's the guy that I go to when I don't have access to something or don't need something or need confirmation for something. A lot of times I won't publish an article unless I've had him confirm something if I'm not sure. Like, he's the guy that I'll go to. And he's taught me a lot about just how to congregate and aggregate data historically in this space. But they use his stuff sparingly, and they put out the volume of content like that they want to, despite having access to all of it. So I don't think that they're struggling for that. And I think that it's actually a better platform for me outside of working with CrossFit company directly for a majority of the year to be able to explore some of the questions that we ask here, using data to do it in different ways than they're doing it. And I think that also is good for the sport.
I agree. And we can be more honest outside of the system. Steve Smith, Sevan, can you not be independent like the other so-called vloggers who give no gritty content like Craig, Richie, but do have access to the athletes? Yeah, so I did apply for a media credential this year. I did get the media credential. I applied late, like a week or two late. I think it was because I really just had no motivation to go there because I just didn't want to leave my kids. but that being said, they did give me a media credential. I'm not sure what kind of access that would have given me. In the past, of course, when I was the media director, I could just go wherever I want. I even used to go in their locker rooms. So, to defend CrossFit, yeah, they did give me that media credential. And then I was looking for a sponsor to pay my way to the games and to help with the cost of going there and doing work live from there this year. And I just couldn't find one. Even though our numbers are crazy, you guys. The podcast is just skyrocketing. You guys are awesome. Well, it's
Sevan, we have not done the updated top 10 men or women since the games, right?
No, we have not. Are we going to do that soon?
Maybe. And I've also done a hybrid top 10 men and women all time on one list that we could do sometime soon.
Okay. Where are your beautiful B&W headphones? I think that I have two podcast studios. I have one in my office here. My dad and my stepmom are staying the night. And so normally this early in the morning, I do my podcast in my house, and that's where those headphones are. But then I have another like full blown podcast studio where I could host live guests and the whole shebang in another part of my house in an office. And that's where I am here. Although I really do need to clean this room up. If you guys saw this room, just camera gear and books everywhere. These are good headphones though. These are like your standard issue, I think, Sony's. These are what, like, you know. All right. You should have told us, we would have helped. Thank you, Nick of Time. It's not a big deal. I did. Hopefully we will get access. Hopefully, you know, like the events like the Rogue Invitational, Wadapalooza, the Dubai will see value in us and give us access to their events and hopefully help out with having us there. And even if they don't, we know enough athletes that I think we can just call them and text them and get input from our desk. All right. Let me look at the calendar and see when we're coming on next. Damn. Can't tell you how sad I am. I wonder if I'm going to go into a depression today because Robert didn't show up. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Dallin Pepper. He made Brian's list yesterday as a male that's in the top 10 best in the world under 25 years. Didn't make the games this year. And we will have him on tomorrow. Brian, thanks for doing this. And hopefully we'll be on time tomorrow. We'll shoot for 7:55. That way we can get on at 8 a.m. Peace.